Hi there, I'm Linda K. Gifford, and I am the survivor of 7 years of childhood sexual assault. And that's what we're going to call it from now on. We're going to call it assault. I'm tired of calling it sexual abuse because being violated and raped is assault. And I have come to learn these things. It took me decades to discover that what happened to me was a vile and horrific societal problem and not my fault, not indicative of who I am. I am live streaming right now for the first time on both YouTube and Facebook. Hi, Facebook. Hi, YouTube. Got a computer here. I've been doing this on Facebook because as a survivor of sexual abuse, several events led up to where I founded the Sweet Survivor Rescue Fund. And we need to self-promote. We need to provide transportation to victims who are in crisis right now. And so in order to do that, I am on YouTube for the first time ever. Hi. Except for a couple of minutes earlier when I was doing a test run. Sorry to take so long. We had some family things come up, and family always comes first. But the bottom line is I'm so angry right now that I don't even, it's taken me a while just to go live here today because I'm so angry. I guess I should look at the screen and make sure I'm in it. Sorry, this is my first YouTube experience, and I'm quite upset today. I teach and coach. I teach people how to manage triggers that we encounter every day when we are survivors of any kind of abuse that's degrading and long-term. For me, it was childhood sexual abuse, but I've discovered that I also have people that benefit, that come on to talk, that are survivors of war, especially those who have survivor guilt. People who, for some reason or another, have shame ingrained in them. And I'm here to say the shame is not yours. The shame is not mine. It's on the people who perpetrate these crimes against us. And they're crimes. And that's what I'm going to talk about. I've been so busy working on my store, shameless plug, feelgoodfairtrade.com, and restructuring it and moving it onto a new platform and opening the Earth 2.0 family shops, which is something else I founded. We're going to raise money for all kinds of things. I'll talk more about that later, but I've been really busy. And usually I'm on top of the news, but I've really been a couple of few weeks into mostly just focusing on the rescue fund and my business. And so I find out today that there's a representative a wannabe representative in Wyoming who, to get out in front of it, as he put it, told the story of how when he was 18, he, as he put it, impregnated a 14-year-old. And he said they were both teenagers. You know how it is. I even wrote it down. She was a little bit younger than me. So it's like Romeo and Juliet story. No, it's not like a Romeo and fucking, damn, I'm not supposed to cuss. No, it's not like a Romeo and Juliet story. 14 and 18, come on. Bring me any 18-year-old and any 14-year-old right now and tell me that there is a maturity level here that matches. Tell me, no, don't, because I'll be very angry with you if you do. I will, because that's a bunch of BS. I have talked around my story. Many of you know I'm writing a book, Self-Talk, My Continuing Efforts to Survive Childhood Sexual Abuse, which is, my story factors in, but it's really more about society. It's really more about realizing the integrations between our attitudes and our religious beliefs and our traditions and our society and how it is negatively affecting women across the board. And childhood sexual abuse is just one of those things. And it's the thing that I particularly understand all too well. And so for someone to sit there and say, oh yeah, I impregnated a 14-year-old. No, you raped a child. You raped a child. That's what you did. You got a child pregnant. And then because of religious bullshit and dogma, and this child, 14-year-old child, was forced to carry and have this, or coerced, or, oh yeah, supposedly she wanted it too. She would have none of that. They wanted us to have an abortion, but she would have none of that, he says. Like, she doesn't know anything. She's 14-year-old. This is why 14-year-olds can't give consent. If they can't give consent, then you know what? If it was my 14-year-old daughter, I would make her have an abortion. Do you think I'm a bad person? Fine. But I would not put a 14-year-old body through that trauma. And you know what? First thing I do is put a bullet in that man's head. And I'm sorry, and you're probably not supposed to say that kind of stuff on here. But if it was my child, as far as I'm concerned, a first offense rape deserves the death penalty. Period. Hands down. You rape someone, you're dead. If it's my child or anybody I know, any man I know, especially any man or woman, says if it's my child, they're going down. I'm going to kill them, right? But on a societal level, we say, oh, so he had sex with a 14-year-old when he was 18. You know, kids will be kids, you know? And I'm here to tell you that's a bunch of BS. No 18-year-old is that immature, and no 14-year-old is that mature. Something I've also heard lately, even from people I respect. Oh, well, so-and-so, my daughter's very mature. It's like, well, we all act very mature. We've been raised into society to act very mature, to act above our years, to dress above our years, to present ourselves sexually. What was it? Shiloh, Angelina Jolie's kid. I saw a thing pop up on my, whatever, news, CNN or some news thing. It said, I wrote it down, Shiloh rocks dark Daisy Dukes with Angelina Jolie, you know. She's 14. And it even says that 14-year-old Shiloh, you know, rocking those Daisy Dukes. You know what Daisy Dukes are, right? Those are jean shorts that your ass hangs out of, like on the show Dukes of Hazzard. Why is that something that the paparazzi get all over and people look at and go, oh, look how good she looks in the Daisy Dukes? People, she's a 14-year-old child. Get it in your head. The children are not fuckable. I was going to not say it, but there's no other word that suffices. Stop it. I have been blamed by people recently because I've come out about this, because I'm writing my book, which all happenstance. I had a blackout. I didn't know what to do. I started writing. I had seen a therapist 20 years ago. I decided to call her up because I was losing my mind, and I have way too much going on to lose my mind right now and to feel this horrible about myself. Someone commented on another video I posted the other day that I seem well-adjusted. And it's like, do I? Cool. I'm going to swig a little wine to help me with my well-adjustment, because considering I am reasonably well-adjusted, considering I run a company, but if you really look at what I'm doing, everything in my life is geared towards overcoming my PTSD. My business, I didn't even realize it at the time, but when I started my online fair trade store in support of women artisans that we buy from all over the world 4 years ago, we're about to hit our 4th anniversary this month. Actually, I think it's like today. I'm not paying attention to that because I'm restructuring it all, and we're going to be relaunching it in a month. Yeah, I can do things. I raised 3 amazing children. 2 of them are self-supporting adults now, and one is, I'm not supposed to say this, but I'm gonna. He just took state. He is the #1 in the state, not just for his school, but the entire state for Fortnite. And more than that, like, he's really high up on the East Coast, and he's a money-making Fortnite machine. So all of my kids are doing great. Yeah, I'm so well-adjusted. That's why I feel the need to live stream. That's why I have panic attacks. That's why I see a therapist an hour a week, and probably will for the rest of my life. And I highly recommend you do too. Yes, if you detected sarcasm. It's in there. Nobody can be well-adjusted in this society. No woman can be well-adjusted. We're almost forced to pick sides. You're either going to be for yourself or you're going to deny yourself and try to make everybody else happy, you know? And this patriarchal society is set up to destroy and control and commoditize us. That is what women are for, even in America, even in the most westernized, supposedly free society, women are commodities. It's pushed in religion. It's pushed in the laws. We allow representatives. There's a representative. He's not in office anymore, but he used to be, and I'm not even going to give him a name to give him any credibility or let any psycho go look him up. But he wrote porn about having sex with children. He wrote child pornography literature and published it and made money at it and was still voted into office and maintained it because the people in his district are really into child marriage. People think it's outside of the US. Guess what? They do it in America all the time too. It's not just the Mormons. Child marriage is a thing. People deciding that their daughters are better off if they pick their husbands for them and indoctrinating them into these cults. And we can talk and we will talk, and I have talked, and we'll do entire live streams about that. But not now. Right now, I'm just including it on a list of crap. Look at the world. How to you, any woman, any man, anybody who loves a woman, do you have a sister? Do you have a mother? I'm guessing you do. So how can you in any way marginalize her? How can you say her opinion doesn't matter as much as someone else's? How can you say she doesn't have equal rights to anything? I was going to make a list, but that's other live streams. And we're going to do that because I do this 4 days a week now. And mostly we manage triggers. This is more a rant and rave. I'm introducing myself to you, and I'm pretty freaking pissed off. I have my Rubik's Cube. Maybe I should solve my Rubik's Cube while I talk to calm me down. I actually do this just to calm myself down, you know, just sit here and be like, okay, while I talk, I will do my Rubik's Cube. We got to put that one there. Boom. No. 14-year-olds are children. Do not have sex with them. Okay? If you're 16, a 14-year-old is still a child. Don't have sex with him or her. Okay? What was it? Saturday Night Live? Someone was doing a skit. It's like, okay, here's how to stop rape in a society. If you see a woman that you want to have sex with, don't rape her. If you encounter someone in a dark alley that you could rape, don't rape them. You know, it's pretty easy. And we get blamed. We get blamed, and it's going to stop. And I have founded the Sweet Survivor Rescue Fund, and I need you all. I need you guys to, we need you to support the Sweet Survivor Rescue Fund. And it's all in the formation stages. There is a GoFundMe, and there is a Facebook fundraiser page, but it's growing. That's why I'm on YouTube here today, being awkward and weird, as usual. But we're moving on to YouTube to get... so we can get 100, and then 100 subscribers gets us a custom URL, and 1,000 subscribers, and we can monetize. And I've got merchandise right now that's going to be very soon available on here. Merchandise to support the Sweet Survivor Rescue Fund. And we're, you know, across the board, hats, hats, shirts, totes, mugs, pens, all of the custom print kind of stuff that you can do. We're going to be selling through one of my companies, which is Uprise Inc. And Sweet Survivors store is about to open. Also, my store, feelgoodfairtrade.com, sells all the jewelry and scarf purchases are in support of Sweet Survivor. So do check that out. And right now, Sweet Survivor is actually directed to feelgoodfairtrade.com. But very, very soon, within the week or so, Sweet Survivor is going to be connected to this channel as a merchandising shop to raise money to get people in crisis out of crisis. Okay? Will you help me do that? And I'm adding a subscription at sweetsurvivor.com. You'll be able to do a $5 subscription too. But enough about business. I saw something today that I thought was very helpful. So instead of just ranting and raving, maybe I'll talk about that. Maybe I will share with you What I have learned in the past and today, even more intensely, about the neurobiology of abuse survivors and childhood sexual abuse survivors specifically, and any kind of childhood abuse, including emotional neglect, literally causes changes in the way your brain develops. People often ask, why didn't you tell, or why didn't you fight? Why didn't you hurt him? Why didn't you something? And we always say, well, we freeze. And then they think we're weak. Then they think we're weak. Well, you should have fought back, blah, blah. And I have always, always, always been angry at myself for those two things, for freezing and disassociating, and for not telling, because those two things would have stopped it all in its tracks. So why didn't I? This is my lifelong journey to understand and forgive myself. So yes, I'm reasonably well adjusted, but surviving is an everyday process. And this is why I am now coaching people. I can't say there's a day you're going to be done. That's why I'm cheap. I didn't charge anything at all, except that I don't have time unless I do now. So a new appointment calendar is going up and all. But it's like, we're going to be talking forever. Because as much as I'd like to tell you it's not the case, it is the case that you will survive every day. And if you're doing it right, you will remember. You will allow those suppressed, if they are, memories to surface. And you will do what I call filing them away in the open. You create a file that says, this is what happened to me. This is BS. This is what's not going to happen again. You label it whatever you want to, but don't put it back in the dark recesses again. Don't forget about it. Don't try not to think about it. Just file it somewhere where it's part of who you are. I am Linda K. Gifford. I am a sexual abuse survivor. I am not a sexual abuse survivor. In fact, I'm going to change that. I am a sexual assault survivor. I've got to remember, just keep saying that. It's not sexual abuse. It's sexual assault. When you rape a child, it's sexual assault. When you teach a child to suck your penis and take them on drives to do so, it's sexual assault. It's not abuse. And in doing so at such a young age, I and other people who have suffered this kind of abuse, we don't form, as a means of protection, we don't form connections between the associative part, between the chronological memory. I'm going to get in deep here. There are parts of your brain, I'm not going to name them, but the parts of your brain that store memory, right? And there's memories that get filed neatly into the kind you can recall in order. And there are memories that are just jumbles that haven't been processed. And the thing is, when you're sexually assaulted, you don't process. You have that's the point when the adrenaline and the cortisone kick in and your body stops all unnecessary functions. It's going to stop all unnecessary functions, and that includes moving. You're going to have an instant, under a second, to respond with fight, flight, or freeze. And the reason more people don't fight or fly is because they're not trained to do so. Why do you think we train our military and our police and self-defense courses, which I highly recommend you take? Very empowering, and I have used. I have removed someone from my car who intended to harm me and left them crying on the street because of self-defense courses. But when I was a 12-year-old and a 13-year-old and a 14-year-old, that never occurred to me. It never did. Fight or flight was completely not an option because the situation was so unfamiliar, and it was somebody I knew and trusted and actually loved in a way. My sister's first husband, he paid attention to me. He always talked to me. He'd let me hang around while he fixed cars and stuff. I realize now that I was being groomed. I get it. And the things that happened that then I felt guilt and shame for, that you know, this is what we talk about. We're going to talk about more in our sessions. I will get more into that, and I'm definitely telling you more about it in the book. But to avoid getting too deep into what personally happened to me, on a societal level, we perpetuate paradoxes that confuse us. We're supposed to be good. We're supposed to listen to adults. We say that we respect children and we don't want them to be harmed. Men say, if anybody raped my child, I'd kill him, right? But then they catcall 11 and 12-year-olds, people that young, girls that young, walking by work sites and things are catcalled because they are looked at as fuckable women. They're looked at as people you can have sex with. We glorify somebody like Angelina Jolie's daughter, Shiloh, like she doesn't probably have enough problems. No offense, but come on. That's a rough upbringing for anybody except for the money. And we say, hey, she's rocking the Daisy Dukes. She's 14 years old. You know what she just learned? People like to see my ass. I should show my ass. Is that the lesson you want for your children? Do you think that's going to protect Shiloh or anybody else from being thought of as an accessory or a toy or a commodity or a victim to you? Rape changes you. Child rape changes your actual brain structure. I came out about having alters, about having dissociative personality disorder, which actually isn't considered a disease anymore or an illness. It's considered a strength and a coping mechanism. If I hadn't disassociated, I probably wouldn't be here. And dissociative disorder is a direct result. I've learned since the last time I live streamed about it, I've learned much more in depth. I've read intense scientific breakdowns about the neural pathways and how they are affected and how they develop. And I recommend you do so if you know anybody who could be like me or yourself. In learning about this, I've learned about a treatment that I really would like to try, but it's something that's not readily available. The Hyperbolic Chamber experiments where they are reconnecting, basically putting you in a state over 20 to 60 sessions where you recall, and then, but you're in a barometric chamber to where you're have the ability, your brain has the ability to grow new synapses. I don't understand how all that works, but they've had amazing results with it. And the thing is, that's all great, but I shouldn't have to do this. Nobody should have to do this. I'm seeking for answers still at this point in my life, despite 3 wonderful children and the best relationship I've ever been in with someone I truly adore, who understands and gets me. And I'm learning so much and everything is like great. So why am I here? This has to stop. The only way I feel okay every day is to advocate. So I'm here to advocate, and I'm here to tell you once again that all over the world, women are marginalized and abused to the point that it is just accepted practice. And then we're supposed to be grateful. Here in America, we're supposed to be grateful. Oh, look at you, but you've got it better than everybody else. Like, excuse me? I don't care. I do care about all of the marginalized women and others in the world very much. But when it comes to right now, you're telling me I should be okay with our situation here in America and my own because other people have it worse? I mean, you could apply that across the board to anything. Well, someone's always got it worse, so any kind of abuse is okay, I guess. It's like, no. We don't have nearly equal rights in America. We have an unbelievable amount of women who are so brainwashed and bulldozed by the patriarchy and their religious, patriarchal religions that they actually try to be the best bad woman, the best good bad woman. They try. to hurt the rest of us and say that we're crazy. They come on my message thing and tell me that I'm responsible for my own sexual abuse, and that at 12 years old and at 13 years old and at 14 years old, I should have known better. Well, if you go through my past live streams, I'm going to be loading some more of them up from the last couple of months from Facebook where I started these. I go in depth and without tearing anybody apart and try to explain to you, and I will try to explain to you again another time because I don't want to keep going much longer here, why those things happen, why we feel helpless, why we disassociate, and why you need to make it stop, and why I'll spend my life. Someone told me, you're never gonna eliminate this problem from society. And I'm like, I know that. But like Ruth Bader Ginsburg in women's rights, I intend to die trying. I intend to die trying. So, I hate to say this, but you have to do it. Like and subscribe, and please share. We need numbers. It's a numbers game. Unfortunately, goodness has a price. Rescuing survivors has a price. Please pay it. I'm just asking you to subscribe, share, and consider a $5 donation to the Sweet Survivor Rescue Fund, which I will present to you very soon. I'm going to go now and then get back to work. I actually work about 18 hours a day. I just showed my therapist my sleep tracker, and I have slept an average of 3 hours and 38 minutes since May 7th at night. So when I say I sleep 3 to 5 hours a day, that was a good day. I can sleep 5 if my partner's here, though. When we visit, somehow he comforts me just being there. So I'm going to go now and check on him. Bye. Hi there. I'm Linda K. Gifford, and I am the survivor of 7 years of childhood